Hello, everyone, and welcome to Studio Jake. I, of course, am your host, Jacob Airy. I've got some really great guests today. I've got from Beep Satire, the founder and head writer, is Yvonne Bailey. And then from the Jester Bell YouTube channel, we've been on a couple of panels before, but never on Studio Jake. It's Teresa, and she is also a short film director. So, in case you want to check out some of her films, they're on her YouTube channel. So, we're going to talk about the Oscars because it was such a great. It started out so boring, but then it ended so beautifully, and we're going to talk about all of that today. So, first off, Best Picture. I'm going to get this out of the way. I was wrong. I've said if I was wrong, I would admit it, and I did. I thought Don't Look Up was going to win, or if not, in which Yvonne and I talked about this. She was on my pre-Oscars show, where if it wasn't going to be Don't Look Up, it was going to be West Side Story, because Steven Spielberg is always a safe bet. If they don't know what to do, they usually give it to Ron Howard or Steven Spielberg. But I was wrong. It went to Coda, which I admit I haven't seen. I heard it's good. I don't have Apple TV. I'm not a big Apple person, but it's a movie about, from my understanding, it's a movie about a child, and both her parents are deaf. And in fact, the one of the parent actors won Best Actor, and it was the first time a deaf person won an Academy Award. So good for him. And what do y'all think? Because I was totally blindsided by this. I know a lot of people who were saying if it wasn't going to be one of the woke ones, they would want it to either be Coda or King Richard. So, what do y'all think? Have either of you seen Coda by any chance?
I have not. Is it okay if I go first?
Yeah,
That's
no,
about it.
absolutely.
Okay. So because the thing is, I'm very careful about what I watch, and so it's hard because I'm a person who I like to watch things in full so I can be informed about them, but at the same time, I'm not going to fill my head with a lot of garbage I don't want to fill my head with. Just to give an informed opinion on the Oscars. So, for example, I was going to watch Power of the Dog because I saw that it was on Netflix. And I'm like, oh, it's free. I can watch Power of the Dog. It's got Benedict Cumberbatch in it. I like him. So I'm going to watch it. I started reading into the film and what it was about and what kind of themes it promoted. And I'm like, I do not agree with this. Another one of those films that seemed to like really ride the line between statutory rape. I know I can't even pronounce that, but just underage relationships. And I'm like, the Academy keeps doing this. It keeps supporting films like this. I'm not going to watch the film or support the film. So I just decided I'm not going to feel obligated to watch every single film if I don't feel comfortable with it. Coda, I did not do much research. It might be a little bit raunchier. For a while, no one was really talking about it, just like the Kenneth Branagh film. I don't think people were really talking about that one. To me, it seemed, I think I said this to Jacob right before the stream. I thought Power of the Dog is going to win because I'm like, they're on a streak where they want female directors to get the Oscar. Mm-hmm. And I've seen that for the past couple of years. And so I'm like, it's going to be Power of the Dog because that was getting so much buzz. And I thought that for sure that's going to be the film. Then, as Jacob was pointing out to me, because I guess, was it Sam Smith? What was his name?
Sam Elliott from numerous films.
Yeah, he was criticizing the film. And so then, like he said, before we started, the buzz kind of dropped away from that film. And then I started hearing people say it's going to be Coda. So that's why I thought, yeah, it's going to be Coda because it's kind of a similar no one has really seen it film, dealing with, I guess, not marginalized people, but Nomadland was about homelessness. This is about deaf parents. So I guess kind of, I don't want to say unfortunate families, but, struggling people kind of on the side, the kind of people that Hollywood does not associate itself with most of the time. Last year, they ran out all the homeless people from the place where the Oscar was going to be. At the same time, they gave the award to something that was about homeless people. Anyway, so yeah, it was going to be Coda. It's like they always, that's the pattern. They've been doing like safe films that nobody has ever seen before. and that it's not like that's the terrible film and I wouldn't have given it the Oscar, or that's the film I would have given the Oscar. It's like something that no one has seen and no one will talk about. That's always the thing. So that doesn't surprise me. And I'm just, before I give it away to Yvonne, that's kind of the pattern with the Oscars. It's like when you've got best editing, best sound, and whatnot, it's like they give it to a film that deserves it, that doesn't need to have a certain message. And so Dune was a sweep, and that was obvious. And that's like, yeah, of course that should have gotten. But as the night goes on, you can see, okay, yeah, these people who won these awards for actor make sense. It's not really that exciting. It was predictable. There's obviously other political factors involved in who won. And then with Best Picture, it's always like, you know, something that no one cares about. That's kind of the pattern I've been seeing with these Oscars. But I'm going to give it away to Yvonne so she can give her 2 cents in.
And Yvonne, before you jump in, I am curious. Do you agree that it was like a safe pick, that's why they went for it?
Yeah, I agree with Teresa. I think it was a really safe pick, and something that was really non-controversial and very like under the radar, seemingly wholesome. Like, I haven't seen it yet. I actually kind of do want to see it. I just, I don't have Apple TV. I have every other subscription under the freaking sun, right? So there's like actually a pretty good barrier to watch, right? I don't know. I actually do really want to see this movie. I am a little surprised that they picked it, but it was a super safe bet. And honestly, I'm happy that they picked it, other than a lot of like the more obnoxious options that definitely could have been, whether it be Licorice Pizza or West Side Story or what's the other one? Don't Look Up. I appreciate that it's at least not one of those 3, which I didn't think were. I mean, I thought Don't Look Up was okay, and I did, with all the buzz around it and the message behind it, I did think that it had a shot of getting Best Picture. But I am glad that they didn't pick it, because at the end of the day, I thought it was a very like, yeah, it had all these stars in it, but it was like maybe a B-rated movie. I did not think that it was nomination worthy whatsoever. I mean, it's a funny, kitschy movie, right?
Yeah, it's one of those, I want to laugh at it, not with it.
Yeah, I felt like the entire movie, if I can say this, the entire movie, Don't Look Up, felt like an SNL sketch. Mm-hmm. It felt like the purpose isn't the characters. The purpose is that we've cast these people and we have all these dumb jokes, and that right. The purpose isn't if the message is smartly delivered. It's that the message is there. That's what I felt like it was.
And like, that's a really good comparison, because there were parts of the movie that were actually like, I was like, okay, that was actually pretty good. Like the Cate Blanchett, like playing like Mika Brzezinski, basically. I thought that was like a very fun kind of characterization. And, it does feel like an SNL sketch, because most, right, 90 minutes of it, you just want to pull your eyes out. And then now and then you're like, okay, that was like moderately entertaining or funny.
Yeah. And, that's really, and that's one of the reasons I thought it was going to win, was because of the messaging. But, it just seems like we're saying they went for something safer. Who was it? What one last year? I'm having trouble remembering. Was
Nomadland.
It was Nomadland. So I've seen Nomadland. I actually thought it was a good movie. It's a really good introspective movie. It's not for everyone. It's definitely made for cinephiles. Like, it's not really made for general audiences, but I still thought it was great. I was surprised that it won Best Picture, but that's where we're at. And then the year before it was Parasite, right? Which I was happy Parasite won, because all those stuffed shirts in Hollywood got beaten out by a South Korean film, which was good. I actually got it. That was one of the few films I got a screener for. But anyway, and of course, both of you can feel free to disagree with me. I actually think the real Best Picture from last year was Spider-Man: No Way Home. And a case can be made for Nobody. I really liked Nobody, but I was expecting, and so was everyone else, all the media was saying that Spider-Man: No Way Home was going to sweep fan favorite film. And it didn't. Army of the Dead won.
I get heated about that. And listen,
That
And
was
here's
a dejectively bad movie.
here is
Yeah.
the problem with the stupid Oscars fan favorite. They made it about, we're going to do a Twitter poll. It was based around Twitter. I'm like, Twitter can be manipulated by bots and trolls. And it was the number one, if you're not a political thing controlling Twitter, the people who have the most power on Twitter that aren't political are Snyder bots. So here's what happened. I watched this in real time. They tried to make Zack Snyder's Justice League the Oscars fan favorite, and they realized they couldn't because it didn't have a theater release. So they won an Army of the Dead just so they could have a
Which
Zack
was
Snyder
only in
movie.
there's for 14 days.
It was,
I
I'm
could
like,
be
no
incorrect
one
about that.
saw
It was a
Army of
limited
the.
release.
I'm like, no one saw Army of the Dead. No one liked Army of the Dead. You are just doing that so you can get Zack Snyder. I'll call him Snyder's name out there.
But then the Flash going into the Speed Force from Justice League, one cheer moment. How does Flash going into the Speed Force beat? And spoiler alert for Spider-Man No Way Home. It's been out long enough. If you haven't seen it now, sorry. But it does not beat the moment when all three Spider-Men jump onto the Statue of Liberty. That was the cheer moment. And, I know all the Snyder, because I'm well known in the Snyder cult. They all hate me. So this will come as no surprise to them. But, I just felt like the Academy should have known better, because now they have legitimized this movement. And I believe in fan participation. So like when the fans went after the Sonic the Hedgehog movie, and it corrected it, and the fans rewarded the movie, right? So I'm not opposed to fan participation at all, but I do feel like Snyder's particular fan base is toxic. But I'm curious. I'm going to go to Yvonne first, because she's not as big as a nerd as me and Teresa. So I'm curious, were you thinking Spider-Man No Way Home was going to win fan favorite? Because also Dune was on the list. And okay, there you go. But what's your take on this?
I definitely thought that, and unfortunately it just is, we were talking about this earlier, right? Like, is this like a nice play to fans? Like, is this going to kind of save the grace for the Oscars a little bit? And unfortunately it just perpetuated the same bullshit that everybody hated it for in the first place, right? It's people, either insiders or people with power, kind of hacking the system to get what they want, right? I mean, that's what it really boils down to at the end of the day. And it's like, and the problem is they don't even try and hide it, right? If they picked like a number 2, it was a close call, right? You got 2 great films that everybody's talking about, and they go with, number 2 because of a political connection or a friend connection or what have you. That at least you can hide. But you take 2 films that are so obviously like to call it a fan favorite, it's just ridiculous, right? I mean, ask anybody on the street, put those 2 films together, and you know what the response is going to be, right? Like, it's not it's not even a close call.
And Teresa, I know what are you making of this? Because like I even read like the Access Media, so like Polygon, IGN, and all these other CBR, they were all saying Spider-Man was going to take home the fan favorite. And for them to be wrong, that's what's so shocking. Was I was thinking, wow, if CBR is admitting Spider-Man, because they were all pushing Dune for a while, because Dune didn't. Everyone pretty much knew Dune wasn't going to win Best Picture. So, what's your take on that? How did everyone get it so wrong, outside of just the manipulation of the algorithm, I guess?
Well, I think there's the most of us, even CBR, which I'm very critical of.
Me too.
we were all seeing Spider-Man No Way Home is the movie everyone liked. It made the most money last year. Everyone enjoyed it. Even people who are critical of the MCU enjoyed it. So it was pretty obvious Spider-Man No Way Home should win. If it doesn't win, then it's rigged somehow. So that's why I think they got it wrong, because it seems so obvious. But we underestimated the Snyder bots, and they organized this. I see the annoying Snyder fans, like the one with the most followers, saying, keep spamming. Yeah. We're at this every so often. And it's like, even if you're the average Joe on the street loves that Spider-Man movie, but the average Joe on the street is not sitting on Twitter every single day of their life thinking, how many times can I spam to make sure that this gets its Oscars moment? It's
What's so
like,
fun?
go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say what's really funny is my parents. They're not into comic books like I am, but they do enjoy comic book films. And whenever I was telling them that the Snyder Cut was coming, I was okay with Spider-Man, or excuse me, with Snyder getting his vision out there. Good for him. How Warner Brothers handled his removal was absolutely disgusting. That is one thing I agree with his fan base about. But I was telling my mom and dad, I was like, listen, you are not going to enjoy this cut because they didn't even really like the theatrical cut. And I said, this one is not going to be better. And they're like, you haven't even seen it yet. I'm like, yeah, but I know the director and it's not going to
Yeah.
be good. And sure enough, my dad was like texting me like while they were watching. He's like, oh man, I'm having to take B12 just to stay awake during this movie.
Yeah, I'm just frustrated by the manipulation because this is what they did for the Snyder Cut in the first place, and
Mm-hmm.
they did it, and then the data came out that it was not getting nearly the amount of views that AT&T thought it was based on that Twitter discourse. And I think this is something that the industry surprisingly is learning. Like, it seems that to a degree they've really put their stock in social media discourse, and that they're only understanding more and more how fans are manipulated. Just as industry and the media manipulate social media discourse, they're seeing how the fans can manipulate it. So that was a huge thing, and I thought that we were done with the Snyder discourse, and I thought we were moving on, and now it's
Not
back.
with Rebel Moon coming out.
Yeah,
That's his new one.
It's I just really hope that they're not that Toby Emmerich, or whatever his name is, that whoever is in charge of WB, thanks to the Discovery merger, whoever that is not looking at that Oscars thing and going, oh, people really like the Snyder movement.
Yeah.
Let's go back to that. Like, look at the data at HBO Max on that Snyder Cut. It is a very, very niche fan base. Go with the Batman. Go with that to get the success of the DCEU. Don't stop with these trolls. Are we going to have 80-year-old men in their basements spamming, keeping Zack Snyder on life support, restore the Snyderverse, restore Zack Snyder's body, and make him make the Snyderverse?
Well, we could talk about that all day long, but I am curious, going back to the Best Picture aspect of it, if you were to pick a movie yourself as what you thought was Best Picture, I'm going to go ahead and say Spider-Man No Way Home, even though I thought cinematically Nobody was a little bit better movie. Just cinematically, I still had way more fun watching Spider-Man No Way Home. So I'm going to say my Best Picture pick would be Spider-Man No Way Home. Yvonne, what was yours?
I would have gone with King Richard. I know.
No, it's a good movie. I have seen King Richard. It's a good movie.
There's a little slapping going on, but I mean, I genuinely, I really enjoyed that film, and it's just like a great, wholesome American story that is powerful. And, I'm not super like a cinephile like you guys, but I just thought it was a great movie and a great story.
And Teresa?
It's a little bit hard for me because I want to say Spider-Man No Way Home. I would either say Spider-Man No Way Home or Dune. My problem with Dune, though, is I think that it nailed it on everything except some of the script and the pacing. Things that I didn't like about the movie were all related to the script. And so it's like it was firing on all cylinders except what I would say the most important part, the plot. And so it's like I can't really say that would be the number one that for Best Picture. And in Spider-Man No Way Home, I would say it's close. There were still some problems with the plot, though. Not for me personally. I personally love the whole thing. But if I'm being more objective, I'm like, No Way Home had problems with the plot as well. So which one, if I was to choose like either Dune or No Way Home, I would say Best Picture from what the films that I saw. And I want to be clear, it's fine if there's a film that's not popular that wins. It's just so often it's a film like Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, I 100% thought should have won the Oscar that year. And not a lot of people saw that film. And I didn't like it just because it was Spider-Man. It was the most excellent animated film I'd seen that year. But it's just so often it seems like they pick films that they know no one has seen and that are more elitist. So
sometimes those movies are good. Like what I consider the last great Oscars was 2012, and Yvonne and I also talked about this in our pre-Oscars. Was The Artist one, and The Artist was one of those. It was really made for It was really made for the elite. It was really aimed at critics. But I saw it and I was like, oh, I definitely see why this movie won. It was the first, I think it was the first silent film to win since the 1920s. And because it was all silent except for the last 2 minutes of the movie. And I just thought it was brilliant. The fact that they were able to convey the emotions of the characters. They filmed it all in black and white. Uh, and normally that I kind of I have to admit I'm a little bit of a hypocrite on this because I roll my eyes now when people are like, this is filmed in all black and white, just like the olden days. And I'm like, oh, brother. But but with the artist, I really thought that it fit well with the movie, considering it was also a silent film. And you mentioned Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Let's talk about animated features a little bit, because my goal was to watch all of the animated films. I actually declined to watch Flea because I found out it was a documentary. It's an animated documentary, and I was like, and it tells the true story of a guy who's engaged and he's like going through gout or something boring like that. But I was thinking, how did this movie get nominated? Like, I get it if it was on Best Documentary, right? But why is it on Best Anime? And then I realized it was French, and so it's like, oh yeah, we got to give the French whatever they want. And so, but it was besides Flea, it was Mitchell's versus the Machines, which I've seen. It's a pretty good movie. Luca and Encanto, and Raya and the Last Dragon. And 3 of the 5 were Disney, and I feel like this was just because Disney owns ABC, which was threatening to cut time from the Academy Awards, which they did a little bit. And so I'm curious, was everyone expecting Encanto to win? I have to say I was right about that one. I thought that one would win.
Well, does it go ahead?
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I watched like 30 minutes of Mitchell's versus the I'm talking way too fast. Mitchell's versus the Machines. Some of the plot hit a little too close to home for me, so I only watched 30 minutes of it, but it was good. I don't think that it was the very best that team. It's the same team that did Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse and Lego Movie. I don't think that it was their best outing ever, but it definitely was creative with the animation. So like Encanto, and I really like Luca as well. Encanto, I don't think was undeserving necessarily. It's just that I kind of eye roll with myself at the animation awards, because if you say that the rest of the Academy Awards, aside from like editing and stuff, is biased towards the film with the message that they like the best, the animation awards are always biased towards Disney. I will never forget the same year, it was Toy Story 4 versus Claus. I don't know if Jacob has seen that movie.
Oh, Claus.
I watched. It was excellent. It's a reimagining of The Legend of Santa Claus. It was excellent. It had excellent animation. It was leagues better. I can't talk tonight. It was leagues better than Toy Story 4. Toy Story 4 was awful to me. But Toy Story 4
I totally skipped it.
Toy Story 4 won that year, and that is the year that made me go, Oscars are meaningless. Like, the animation will always be in favor of Disney, unless there was the one year where it was like Incredibles versus Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Spider-Verse had the diversity card it could play ahead of Incredibles, definitely. Like, Spider-Verse won, but unfortunately, even though I think Spider-Verse deserved it, I feel like it was that diversity card they were playing. They know how to get their movies to win, and that is the reason why they won over Disney. Claus did not have a diversity card to play. And you think today, and I have to be honest, this is the way the Oscars are. It's all about message, and it's like, were you going to say something?
No, I was going to ask a follow-up, but I have a feeling you were about to answer my question.
Mitchell's versus the Machines, great animation and then decent storytelling. It's about an all-white family. I guess the daughter is implied maybe to be lesbian or bisexual, like lightly implied that. But then you got Encanto, which, just a little bit. But then you've got Encanto, which is about Colombian family. I think that like that. So it's like, that's the diversity movie. It's like Disney's got the edge. It's Disney and they've got the diversity thing. So they're going to win. But animation just frustrates me because it seems like it's always stacked in favor of Disney every time. Not because Disney has a great film. It's like, it's a shock shock beyond all belief when Disney doesn't win.
And let me know in the comments below, because I actually think Disney is the only animation studio to get a Best Picture nod for Beauty and the Beast. I believe Beauty and the Beast was actually nominated for Best Picture when it
I think
came
it won
out.
Best Picture.
No, it didn't win. It won
okay.
Best Animated, but it did. But no, it did not. But it was nominated.
Okay.
And Yvonne, what do you think? Did you were you saying Encanto, and what do you think about the picks?
I actually liked Encanto, and it
it was good. Yeah.
And I'm like, it reminded me, granted, yes, I agree with you on the message aspect of things, but it's kind of become a part of every popular movie nowadays. And I thought that this one was a little bit more subtle, and it did kind of remind me of a good classic Disney movie, which is so hard to find nowadays. I feel like most of the Disney movies that I watch are just really low quality, like garbage. And I did like Encanto. I liked the music. I liked the animation. I saw Luca too. I liked Luca as well, but I would have given Encanto a slight edge, so I'm not really surprised that they won. I haven't seen the Mitchells versus the Machines yet.
And what about Raya and the Last Dragon?
I didn't see that one either.
See, this goes to a good, yes, I did see it. This goes to a good point, though, because Raya and the Last Dragon is kind of more of a traditional Disney princess type movie where, but they don't have a good villain for it. And I've noticed this since Brave, which is also a Pixar film, but let's be real, it's more of a Disney movie. They're starting to pull back having a villain, and it was like this with Moana. There was really no villain in the film. But with Encanto, it was different because it was more like a family musical. So it worked not having a villain. It worked kind of with just the tension within the family. And so I'm saying I agree with you, Yvonne. I think that's what gives the edge. Now, and I know everyone, including my two panelists, are going to roll their eyes. I still think My Hero Academia, World Heroes Mission was the best animated film. I would say Demon Slayer Mugen Train, but someone pointed out to me that technically came out in 2021. It just wasn't released in the States until 2022. But so I was getting my wires crossed on the timing. But I think it was My Hero Academia, a World Heroes Mission. It was one of the reasons I like that film is I took my wife to see it. She does like anime. She is not a big My Hero Academia film. She went to see it and she liked it. And I said, "Did you need to know about the show to understand what was going on?" She goes, "Oh, not at all. I totally connected with all the characters. They did a good job of building them up. And also, it's about superheroes fighting an evil villain." And one of my, and again, spoiler warnings, but one of the best parts of that movie is there's at the conclusion when the main character, his name is Deco, whenever he's fighting the villain gives his sob story about how people never liked him and on and on. And Deku just tells him basically to shut up. He wallowed in self-pity and he should have picked himself up and he should have tried to become a good, he said, you shouldn't have given up on life. You should have kept trying and not become evil. And then he kicks the crap out of him. And I just thought I was like, finally, superheroes being heroic and they're not sucking up to the villains. So, but yeah, that's just my personal opinion. I had to get that out there since we were talking about animation. But go ahead, Teresa.
I just wanted to interject. I like Encanto. So the English way I would say it is Encanto. The correct way is Encanto. But anyway, it's a good movie. I went to the theater for it and I was pleasantly surprised. I liked it before it was cool because no one watched it when it first came out in theaters. And then everyone watched it when it was on Disney Plus. And then that's when We Don't Talk About Bruno blew up. It's a very good movie. I was just more so venting that over the years watching the Oscars, I've just seen how biased it is for Disney. So I'm like, it didn't matter that Encanto was good or not. It's like, this was very stacked in favor of Disney already. It's incredibly difficult for any film that isn't Disney for the animation segment to get it. It's like they have that claimed.
And well, I'm curious though, because Skydance, which is a rival film studio, they hired John Lasseter, who, if for those of you who might not be familiar with his story, he was one of the founders of Pixar. And when Disney bought Pixar, they brought him on, and he was there forever. He got Me Too'd, and Disney fired him. And of course, nothing came of the allegations, as a lot of these stories go. And so Skydance picked him up and they launched Skydance Animation. And guess who stole a lot of a lot of former Pixar animators and writers? Skydance Animation. Now they haven't done I believe they are working on a film right now. It's not done, but I'm going to be curious because all of because I actually heard that they nabbed Toy Story, the first Toy Story's director, for their upcoming film. So they pinched him from Disney. So I'm curious to see if because forever people thought it was going to be Blue Sky. Blue Sky is going to be the rival to Disney, and then it was DreamWorks Animation, and of course both of those they just couldn't keep up. And so I'm curious though now because Skydance is actually stealing Disney's Best and Brightest, because I actually found out when Lasseter was hired by Skydance, there was like a mass exodus from Pixar. And which is why they absorbed Blue Sky, was because they needed animators and writers and stuff. So when they bought 20th Century Fox, they just merged Blue Sky into Pixar and picked up all those people. But so Disney may actually have a rival now, and I'm not trying to promote this in any way, but Chinese animators are coming up.
Yeah.
We saw. I'm trying to think of the name. Wish Dragon, which was I think Sony distributed it in America, but it's actually a Chinese animated film. It was basically Aladdin, but with a dragon. But I was like, this is a good first step. Like if this is this company's first film to go to a American audience. So do y'all? I want to get Yvonne first, but do you think that we will see kind of an age where Disney's crown is going to kind of be challenged? What do you think?
I hope so. I mean, just from all of the ridiculous, this is a little bit different, but just from all the ridiculous political decisions that they've been making in the past decade, there has to be somebody who smells blood in the water, because although, Disney is a Goliath, there are a lot of consumers and a lot of parents out there who are done. And it's like every single week that number keeps getting larger and larger and larger. And is it going to be a conservative alternative? Of course not. But there is that the Disney name is really losing a lot of shine to the average person. And I do think that opens up a really good spot for a competitor. What you're saying about the folks who left Pixar, I mean, it's very interesting. I don't know if that's going to be who it is. But just from a business perspective, there's a lot of great opportunity there.
And Teresa, what do you think? Do you think Disney is going to have a rival soon with all these new companies coming up?
I think if it happens, then it's going to take a lot more time for us to see it happen. Because my problem is Disney has been hated since the 90s and before that. Like if you listen to YMS, yourmoviesucks.org, he did a video on Kimba. And it was about how the Kimba controversy he did a lot of research on it. It was like a 2-hour video. I listened to it. It was very well researched. It was about how that entire controversy actually came about, not because of actual hard evidence that Disney ripped off Kimba for The Lion King, but because people who hated Disney were drumming up this controversy to knock against Disney. And so that is an example of how people have hated Disney for decades and even before that. So at times, and I'm not trying to call anyone it's just a lot of times the Disney hate just becomes talk more than anything. It's kind of like in 2017 when Beauty and the Beast, the live action version, came out. And they started to talk about how there's going to be a gay character. It was the first of Disney's first gay characters. They've announced like 13 first gay characters since then. But so there was just so much talk about Christians boycotting Disney. And this is it. This is America rising up against Disney. And there was this woman who very famously was posting about how she was canceling her $6,000 Disney trip with her family, and she's got her daughter like in an Elsa dress, and she's like, which a lot of people think that Let It Go and Elsa are supposed to represent coming out and whatnot, which was ironic. But she's like, this is me. I'm a mom standing up against Disney. What happened? Beauty and the Beast made $1 billion, and it didn't really have a gay moment, but that was like the online discourse about the movie, that there's going to be this big rise up against Disney. In real life, people I was talking to at school, people I knew who liked Disney, were like, yeah, it's probably not going to be much. I'm still going to go see the movie. That was real life, completely different from online. And it's like me, myself, like I talk a lot of bad about Disney. It's like I'm still watching Disney Plus. I still go on that subscription. I still watch Marvel. So much. And then you have to think Disney is a mega corporation, and they like have their hands in a lot. I was just working at a job, and I found out my job was indirectly connected to Disney. We were sponsored by Disney. I didn't realize that. I'm like, Disney is just this gigantic corporation with their fingers in a lot of different stuff. So what I'm saying is Disney is a lot bigger than, it's unfortunate, but Disney is a lot bigger. It's like Apple or Google. It's a lot bigger than like internet controversy can really make it out to be. They can't really come against it as easily as they're saying. And what's difficult is there's a lot of people who just won't let go. Like, if Starbucks is, one time there was, Starbucks became in a political controversy, and a friend of mine was like, I'm not drinking from Starbucks anymore. And people were saying, I'm not drinking from Starbucks. Starbucks is fine. These things are just way too big. And so many people, even if they know about stuff that's gone on, they will not give it up and not let it go. So no pun intended with the let it go. But
I do think though that there's like a little bit of a difference. Obviously, like, I mean, Disney is what, a multi-billion-dollar corporation, obviously, and has stakes in real estate. I mean, it's an entertainment company,
cybersecurity.
Yeah, it's like that whole conglomerate you're never going to destroy, and that's really not what I was trying to say. But I do think that when you're a parent making a decision for what your kid is going to watch, I do think that there's a little less shine on the Disney name, because when I was growing up, and when you guys were growing up too, it's like, what do you pop in the TV for your kid? You just throw in a Disney movie. That's like, that
Emperor's New Groove.
Right. Like that cultural shift. I myself don't care about these little internet boycotts, but there are parents out there that do. And I do think that there's a little rust on the name as a consumer choice decision, not so much as is Disney going to tank? No, Disney's going to be strong.
Oh, yes, right.
I see what you're saying. And
right. No, yeah, you're right. And it's what we were talking about in Kanto. It's kind of like, bringing it back to the Oscars. If you really want to destroy your shine, have Megan Thee Stallion come in while you're singing "We Don't Talk About Bruno" and put a whole bunch of suggestive lyrics in it. And I want to transition a little bit, because outside of just the films and the normal shenanigans, what are some of your like favorite moments? And by favorite, you can say a genuine favorite or a cringe moment, because for me, I genuinely thought Reba McEntire's performance was good. I was like, this is a really great, she still got it. I'm convinced she doesn't age, or else she bathes in orphan's blood. I don't know, because she looks exactly the same when she was on Reba, the sitcom. So I used to watch that when I was a teenager, and so I'm like, wow, she looks, and she still has a good set of pipes on her as far as singing voice is concerned. So we'll start with we'll start with you, Yvonne. What do you think was what are some of your favorite moments?
I did love Reba's performance. I also love Beyonce's performance, because I am,
You like the Queen Bee.
I do. And it hurts me sometimes, but I do. My personal favorite cringe moment is when Wanda Sykes and Amy Schumer and Regina, what's her last name?
Regina Hall.
Were chanting "gay, gay, gay" on the stage. That was my favorite moment. I found it very entertaining that a bunch of celebrities look anytime celebrities look completely ridiculous, I truly enjoy it. And that's what I think. I won't go into the mechanics of this whole like Florida thing, because, I do think that there are merits to both sides. I mean, I'm probably on this issue, probably more liberal than both of you, but I do think like just the hilarity of the performance, like, we're gonna stick it to Ron DeSantis. This is gonna be the gayest night ever. It's like, of course it's gonna be gay. It's fucking LA, right? And and this idea that Florida is this like big bastion of homophobia, and we need to dedicate every waking moment in media to it, and for the next two months is just ridiculous. And it's funny because when they like did this little stunt, like you could look into the crowd and people were like, yeah. But it's like, I just think that on this particular issue, you could tell that like a lot of these guys don't believe their own bullshit, because when you get down into the meat of the issue, it's like, this whole like don't say gay thing is not what people are saying. Like, it's not what the talking points are. So I thought that was very entertaining because it was just so painful. And anything Amy Schumer does is just like, it hurts me, because I remember like when I was growing up as a teenager, she used to be funny. She actually used to be a funny, entertaining comedian. And that was 10, 15 years ago. But just like the very, very sharp and quick decline is very entertaining to watch. That was probably my favorite part of the Oscars, to be honest. And particularly the moment with Kirsten Dunst, which was just like everyone just looked at in horror. And it was funny because I was, looking at, I was on Twitter right before I came on here, and I think, Jacob, you saw what I'm about to talk about. It's basically they had this tweet about the slap situation, and in the tweet, you could see all of these like celebrities respond from all different like sides of the political aisle. Like conservatives are like, put him in jail, and Rosie O'Donnell's like, you did nothing about it. I mean, I'm just glad that everyone could come together.
well, yes, and we'll talk about that in a minute. So, but I want Teresa, what are some of your favorite cringe or genuinely enjoyed moments?
What I thought that the Beyonce performance was genuinely well done. I liked how they went for a lot of light greens to kind of go with the tennis theme, because that was her song she performed in King Richard. I thought, and the sunset was very great on the back of that. It was well filmed. So I thought that was actually very well done. I liked Andrew Garfield, just the pictures of him just smiling and laughing at the thing. I think that he is very likable. At least his celebrity image is very, very likable. Not to say anything, I don't know who he is in real life, but cringe moments. Anytime Amy Schumer would open her mouth, when she was dressed as Spider-Man hanging from a wire, when she was like, "Don't Look Up" is nominated, because I guess the Academy don't look up reviews. Just the awkwardness of how so much of the comedy seems to be delivered by, we know it's not funny and we know there's no way to make this funny, but we're going to say it anyway. And so just anything like that, it's like, it's just hard for me, because there's like, I'm trying to deliver this comedy and make it funny, and then I know it's not funny and I'm going to say it anyway. That's what it felt like. It's like, no one thinks this is funny. Why are you even saying it? So those are I thought that the "We Don't Talk About Bruno" stuff was cringeworthy. I don't like when they're singing the song and then all of a sudden it becomes like a rap about the Oscars. I thought that was completely cringe. I don't know why the Oscars for years have felt like they're toddlers running the show, and like they don't have any understanding of what adults might find entertaining. It just feels it feels childish and cringeworthy and out of touch. So yeah, that's what I would say are my favorite moments.
Well, there you go. But I think our ultimate favorite moment of the night is what I refer to as the slappening, which is when Chris Rock made a joke about Jada Pinkett Smith, and at first Will Smith laughed at it, but then he walked up on stage and slapped Chris Rock live, international. And what's funny is on ABC they actually blocked out the sound so you couldn't hear it.
They blocked out the best part.
Yeah, I know. Well, then, but in Japan and Australia they didn't. So everyone who had VPNs was like leaking the full clip of where you could actually hear. Now, I'm going to be honest. I don't begrudge a man, and I'm taking so much flack for this on the internet. But I actually don't begrudge a man standing up for his wife. If you want to say he escalated it to too high a point, fine. And I do think he should face the consequences for his actions. But I part of my issue is Chris Rock made fun of Jada so publicly, and Will Smith, in my opinion, had a right to confront him publicly. I don't think, like I said, if escalation, whatever, he could have used his winning best actor to say something, you know. But I've taken so much flack for this. I actually wasn't expecting this pushback, but I'm like, we can't complain about the decline of masculinity and then get mad when a man stands up for his wife. And granted, Jada is not a good wife. She's cheated on him like a dozen times. But I'm still kind of, I guess that's my unpopular opinion. I didn't get what the big deal of it was. For one thing, I think it was totally staged. If you look at Chris Rock, they're making eye contact. He makes no move to block it. He just kind of sissy slapped him. And when you can hear it on the international broadcast, it's not like it was clearly a stage slap. Like he even, in my opinion, it looked more like he made contact with his shoulder. But tell me why I'm wrong, Teresa. I'll let you take it. I'll let you take it
the
first.
Slap, I've done a lot of research. The slap was a theater slap. I saw this. He finger slapped him like across his chin with his fingers. That's something that you would do in theater. Like he's an actor. You know how to slap someone and make it potentially look real without actually slapping someone. So with Jacob's point about a man defending his wife, I just am of the opinion that violence is unacceptable unless it's in self-defense. Like even a distasteful joke, I don't think that it's acceptable to start resorting to throwing down with someone with that. That's just my opinion, but I'm not really thinking about was it acceptable for Will Smith to do that or not, because I have had this thrown in my face for 24 hours now, because it's all anyone, anywhere, like movie critics I follow on YouTube, comic book critics, everyone on Twitter. I would scroll every single tweet about Chris Rock and Will Smith. I am 100% convinced this is staged, and for many different reasons. And here's the thing. Most people coming in to talk about this, joke about it, give their 2 cents on what he should have done, or meme about it. 99% of those people had paid no attention to the Oscars, didn't even know what was going on even. I'm like, I've been paying attention to the Oscars, and what I saw was dead, like completely dead award show. There is nothing that they've been doing that is getting people, not the fan favorite awards, not the idea that Tom Holland might host it, not the controversial hosting choices, absolutely nothing they could do to get people's interest. And this is a show that's been on the decline for 10 years now or longer. So I'm like, I was thinking this in my head before the show, like they are in desperation mode. What is going to happen to get people to look? And then this thing happens and it's almost suspiciously on everyone's tongue. People are talking about this more than Russia and the Ukraine, gas prices, COVID, Joe Biden, any kind of controversy in the past years. I have not seen it ever. It's very, I can't remember the last time this happened. Every single tweet about Will Smith and Chris Rock, everywhere. It was trending #1 on YouTube with 36 million views this morning after 8 hours or so. And you know how they manipulate the trends and what they want people to see. And it's like every single news pundit is jumping forth on this and joking about it and making memes about it and egging it on. They want this. Even if in some slight chance it wasn't scripted, the Oscars couldn't have asked for anything better than this. It has put the Oscars as the #1 most talked about thing again, just like they wanted to. There's been nothing else talked about for 24 hours. And yes, people are pointing out things like, oh, but can't you see Will Smith's publicist take him aside at the end? Can't you see that the statement
Denzel
he released?
And Tyler Perry.
Yeah, I'm I think there is, just from what I've seen from the Oscars before this, I'm there is nothing that they wouldn't do to try to get people to pay attention to them. And, it's like with movies in general. It's what gets people 100% to pay attention to a movie more than something positive, something negative. Drama will get everyone, whoever loves or hates the film industry. That's going to get everyone on board to talk about it. Even people who hate the Oscars are on board to use it to try to trash it. People who love the Oscars are on board with it. Everyone is talking about it. The only thing that convinced me otherwise is if we saw actual real life consequences to this, like say if Chris Rock actually pressed charges against Will Smith, if he was going to court, if
he loses his Oscar.
He literally lost his Oscar. Like, but all I'm hearing is like emptiness, like saying, well, maybe the Academy will suspend his membership. I'm like, that means nothing. And these are just words. And I'm just seeing like, it all just seems like a show. And you see kind of the mood swings of Will Smith. One minute he's crying because of his award. The next minute he's dancing about his reward at the after party. I'm like, either this guy is on severe drugs or that
yes.
all of a sudden has bipolar disorder, or this is,
or he's married to Jada Pinkett Smith.
Yeah, this is incredibly staged. But just the fact, I'm sorry I'm talking too much, but the fact that this is so much in our faces, more so than, I know it can't just be people, the audience, doing it. This is being encouraged. This is being egged on. This is being pushed by social media and the mainstream media in general. This is being egged on us, and that's why I'm a bit angry about it right now, because I feel manipulated. I'm just screaming at people. I'm just trying to have a normal day of news, and I'm like, guys, stop talking about this. This is what they want you to do. You can't see that you're being manipulated to talk about this. This is exactly what they want. The Oscars saved themselves, and I saw a chart that they were going lower than last year's ratings right before this happened, and then they jumped 50% from last year's ratings. Like, this is exactly what they wanted. And they figured out, to their credit, they figured out how to get everyone talking to them. And I'm sure next year they'll nominate Jessica Chastain again, and they'll have Grace Randolph present her award and have like a cat fight or something. That'll be next year.
Well, we'll see. And, Yvonne, I'll let you take it away. Tell me why I'm wrong. I welcome it.
So I think that there are two options here. The first option is that it was staged, which there are a lot of merits to that option. Chris Rock did not act like somebody who was just hit. Nobody in the audience really acted like somebody just hit someone, right? I mean, if you see somebody hit somebody in real life, you get up and do something, right? Nobody got up and did anything, right? There were a few like shocked faces. And Chris Rock really didn't do anything afterwards, right? If somebody hits you, I'm not saying Chris Rock is going to go hit him back or whatever, but there's a natural like shocked reaction, especially from somebody right? And it's kind of the same, not quite the same circle, but it's close to being in the same circle, where it just it did look very staged. If it was not staged, I do disagree with you, Jacob. I think that this is the sign of a mentally ill man who is either on drugs or has a severe mental illness, because you're talking about somebody who has been to probably every Oscars for the past 15 to 20 years, who has sat in that seat, who has had jokes made about him before, which have probably not been nice jokes because it's all roasting, basically, who I guarantee has been in that position before and been equally, if not more mad, and has never reacted in that way. So there's either some sort of mental instability, he was either drinking too much or he was on drugs, because that's not a normal reaction. When you are a person in Hollywood who holds themselves to the very like high standards that these people do, even though they're not, it's just not a normal reaction to think, I'm going to go up and hit that guy. That that you're on live TV, and you've probably been in that position before and never had that reaction. So both scenarios in my mind are not good. Either, we're being played, which is really fucked to think about, or something's really going on with Will Smith, because that's not a normal reaction. It's not an honorable reaction. And also that magnitude of mood swings is very indicative of somebody who's on drugs or is like having a very serious mental break.
I would like to just interject something that my sister, who was going to be on but couldn't be, pointed out to me that really convinced me. She pointed out that even though we can't really see it on live TV because of how everything is blocked, but these guys like Chris Rock, for example, have security all around them to jump at a moment's notice. So if he was literally being attacked, like, why wouldn't his security jump up? And they're his personal security. Why wouldn't they do something? Or why wouldn't Will Smith be actually restrained? Like, if there was actually an attack, like, there would be a lot more shock. But I agree that it's not a human reaction because, okay, I'm thinking, like, say I'm in school, and just so we don't get in any, I think I accidentally turned the printer on. Let's just say this is me and another girl. Say, just so we don't have the whole gender thing brought up in there, but say a girl makes fun of me, says something like really rude to me about something, and I go up and I punch her. The teacher is not going to, if they're a good teacher, they're not going to say, well, you made fun of her, so that was completely justified to punch her in the face. I would be sent to detention.
That was not my take. My take was he should face consequences if Chris Rock wants him to. That was not my take. I'm just saying I don't begrudge a man for doing it on behalf of his wife. I still think he should face the consequences of his actions. But that's just my opinion.
When you're at that high of a level, though, you don't.
I don't see it as a high level. I just think that I don't see Hollywood that way anymore. I used to.
Yeah.
But I'm just kind of overall thinking these institutions are higher and all this.
I do think that there's a distinction there, right? You're talking about Will Smith, who is right. Like, this is a legend. This is a star. This is an icon, right? It's not much higher than Chris Rock, right? In my opinion.
For sure.
And, just somebody who's been through the grinder their entire life since they were 15, 16, 17. You pull them aside, you say, hey, that really wasn't cool. Or, you maybe you yell something, right? Like, yelling something is actually like a pretty high escalation in that environment. You don't go up and hit somebody. I just think I literally think it was either staged or he's like on a bender.
I guarantee you we are going to find out that the two of them are hosting next year, or will at least present an award together, and they're going to be in a movie together. I think this whole thing was just marketing. That is my honest opinion.
I do agree.
The movie thing is, I bet.
And that's why I'm so frustrated by this whole should he or shouldn't he. Like, I'm not thinking should Will Smith or shouldn't he. I'm thinking this was probably not real and we're being played. That's exactly what I think. And
I was just going to say, can we get our initial reactions when we saw it happen? Like, whether you watched it live or saw a recording when you heard about it. I'm curious just what was your first reaction. And Yvonne, I'll let you go first. What was your raw reaction to it?
My initial reaction was, I was just like, did that actually happen? And then I was like, is this a joke? And then I went online to make sure I wasn't hallucinating. And then I was like, oh my God, that actually just happened. And then I was just in complete disbelief. But the more that I dug into it, initially I went from, oh my God, did this just happen, to like, this has to be staged. And or he's out of it.
Oh, okay. Teresa, what was your just like raw reaction to it?
So first, so I was watching all this online, just following it online, not following the Oscars as it was happening, like live show. So my initial reaction was, okay, what happened? I saw what happened. I'm like, that's staged. I was like, that's 100% staged. When I saw the unfiltered, the uncensored audio, and I saw people I trust starting to say that it wasn't staged, I was starting to go, yeah, I don't think it was staged. And so by the end of last night, I was convinced that it actually happened. By this morning and all day long, after I talked to my sister and she pointed out some things I hadn't thought of, and after I saw the social media reaction, how this keeps being egged on, it's like the TV show, the movie they don't want you to stop talking about. It's like the Batman's coming out. Hype, hype, hype. Will Smith punched Chris Rock. Memes. Everybody talk about it. Isn't this funny? I'm like, this is 100% staged. This is
Well, I think this is funny, and forgive me if this sounds sexist, but I'm listening to both of you talk, and I'm going, wow, the ladies here have very analytical reaction to this. This was literally my reaction. Oh! I was like, that was literally what I did, and so I think it's funny that you are both like, oh yeah, we were like, oh, it could go this way. Did it just happen? I can't believe I have to go and confirm it, and I was literally just like, oh, so that
You're like TKO.
yeah, exactly.
It's just
TKO.
and maybe it's because I do think that when you're in that environment, there's a lot of, it reminds me a lot of politics, right? Where it's very rigid and people expect you to do things and say things and you shake the hand and you do the thing and the thing and the thing. It just seems so out of the mainstream for that group of people. Like if it were Kanye, maybe I'd be like, that wasn't staged, right? Or if it were like some of these like people who frequently go off the rails, but this is like someone who's lauded to be an icon, gets all the good movies, gets all the good press, gets all the right, has like a really big mainstream following of people who love him. It just seems too obscure for it to be real life. That's actually for me the biggest reason why I think it's fake, is because it just seems to just like not a logical thought process.
Yeah.
And before we go any further, I do want to read some YouTube comments because we do have some live comments coming in. First of all, Matt's Movie Reviews. He is a friend of the channel, so go to his YouTube channel and subscribe. One of the best movie reviewers that I know, and he does a lot of movie industry interviews, so definitely check him out. He says, I don't think it was staged, but I do think they will spin it into some sort of project or Oscar moment next year. That's a very good point. And Warrior Woman 91, who was supposed to be on this panel, but she's sick. I personally just think she wants a vacation or whatever. But I don't want to rib her too hard because she did say that my reaction is the best. So before I want to give you each time to give some final thoughts. So we'll start with you, Teresa. Give us your final take, whether about Will Smith or just the Oscars in general. Just give us some wisdom.
Well, I was kind of the Kylo Ren of Oscars right before it. I was kind of like, let the Oscars die. Or no, I should not say I was Kylo Ren. I should say I was more like Captain Kirk, just like the Oscars are dying. Let them die. Because I was like, this Oscars, there's absolutely no, I was rooting for the Oscars to turn around and change for years. And then this year I was like, there's no going back. Now I think that they've saved themselves indirectly, and now they're going to be a drama show. Like it doesn't matter if that was staged or not. Next year they're gonna stage a celebrity cage fight 2.0, and they're gonna just use drama to continue to hike up the ratings. They had a spike because of this, and like it's frustrating because it's like nothing's changed. The movies that you'd predict would win. The actors and actresses who you thought would win. Like none of it really matters to us mainstreamers and the movies that a lot of people care about. The only thing that they got was this Rock versus Will Smith thing that is going to continue to propel them forward. And next year it's going to be more drama, and the Oscars will survive. They're going to be this freak monster. I feel like there's a movie or a story about that. I feel like I've heard that story where like it was something that like a company or something or an actor who was like dying in his image, and then they realized controversy or this embarrassing controversy could keep them going. Like I feel like I've heard that story where someone realized that embarrassing, cringeworthy controversy was the only way to keep them relevant, and so they leaned into that for a long time. I have heard that story before, but that's what I feel that the Oscars have become, and it's grows more sad every year.
And I want to bring this in because Pixie Ray, who is also my super cute wife, she entered the chat. She makes a point about Will Smith. She said, I think it was really weird. He being Will Smith wasn't offended by the joke about the relationship being messed up, which was at the beginning. Amy Schumer made this joke, but was offended at a joke about her hair. And then she has a curious emoji. And Where Woman 91 and Matt's Movie Reviews both say good point to that. Oh, and by the way, I should have said, go subscribe to Warrior Woman 91's YouTube channel as well. She's one of my all-star guests. She's on all the time, so definitely go check it out. So Yvonne, I'm going to toss it to you. What are your closing thoughts, and tell us what you think.
My closing thoughts are that if the Oscars become and pivot to celebrity MMA, I'm okay with that. if Dana White is going to host next year's Oscars and it's just going to be a brawl with some awards thrown in between, I'm totally happy to watch that. And honestly, let's bring Amy Schumer back. This could be a lot of fun, right? We just
Keanu Reeves versus Amy Schumer in a beatboxing match. Yes. Let's do that. Let's do that.
Exactly. I think we just need to get creative with it. If they're gonna be celebrity brawl town, we need to totally lean into this. Like, we gotta bring Kanye. We gotta get all the Caitlyn Jenner. Let's have Caitlyn Jenner and Dana White.
Kanye West
I love Dana White.
Kanye West versus Pete Davidson. Perfect.
Yes. Let's lean into the dysfunction, right? There's a saying in politics, right, where you try to appease everybody, you appease nobody. We know what works. Dysfunctional relationships in Hollywood. That's what we want. That's what the people want. And let's give it to them.
I've got a lot of great ideas now, like Miley Cyrus versus Liam Hemsworth. Let's do this.
I'm in, right? This is
Let's
great.
do it. And those are all really great points. Personally, I would love to see Mel Gibson just versus everyone. Just just Mel Gibson takes on all of Hollywood. But we'll have to wait and see, because this, even if it's fake, this could become the norm, as you both point out.
I bet if this was staged, I bet they tried to get a Kanye Pete Davidson fight and they were turned down.
Probably. So, Yvonne, I'll let you tell us, where can everybody find you, and all of your links and whatnot.
Totally. You can follow me on most things at YD as in dog, beep as in Hong Kong, beep beep. And I run a satire site called Beep Satire. Check it out. It's out of control and very fun.
And also, Yvonne hosts a YouTube channel where she has a series of vlogs called Hollywood Hell. Definitely check those out.
Yes, please. Oh, I thought you were talking about Beep Radio. I started Beep Radio too, which is
yes. Also follow Beep Radio. Definitely.
Some very interesting folks.
And Teresa, where can people find you?
On Twitter, you can find me at Teresa Campagna, and on YouTube, you can find me. Name is Jester Bell, and I mainly do comic book related reviews and movie reviews on that side. I want to do more movie reviews. I've got a new short film coming out called Something Out There that I'm editing right now, another horror short. So be sure to follow for that. Some more updated editing will be on that, since I'm trying to improve. So thank you guys.
And also, for me, I'm all over the place. It's at Real Jacob Berry on Twitter, Instagram, Author Jacob Berry on Facebook. I've got all the links down below. Let us know what you think. Put in a comment wherever you're watching. It's streaming to YouTube, but I'm going to put this up on my other platforms. So definitely head over to those places. I'll have the links below. And I'll also have links to Teresa and Yvonne's main YouTube channels in the description, so you can check out them. Give them a sub. Also, thank you to our commenters, Matt's Movie Reviews, Warrior Woman 91, and Pixie Ray. To everyone else, thank you so much. I'll see you next time right here on Studio Jake.